Hello, welcome back. I have a video here, my first fight stickish video of the year. It's my first video in general of the year. I think it might be. I got one out before the end of January. Good for me. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is a modified, so it doesn't look it from the start of it. It is a modified Ion iCade core thing, fight stick thing. So what's an Ion iCade? Why should you care? Well, this was a fight stick device for iPads. I say was, it still is, it still exists, but the reason I say was is because these are kind of in their stock state, kind of useless now. It's because of iOS updates. It's not like really compatible anymore. Like as you can see, here's an iPad here. You're supposed to be able to stick your iPad in there, and you have a screen. There's like mini arcade. There are actually a fair number of shoot 'em up games on iPad on the App Store, surprisingly. But anyway, the reason it doesn't work anymore, iOS updates. It doesn't read as like a controller anymore. It was a wireless thing, Bluetooth, and it still connects to the iPad, but it just reads as like a keyboard now, a keyboard with a limited number of keys, which is interesting. But I bought these on eBay very cheap because they're going to get them very cheap because again they're kind of useless now, seemingly. But what intrigued me about this is a lot of iPod accessories from this era. I don't know exactly when this was made, but I can kind of estimate like very early 2010s maybe. Just weren't great build quality, and this isn't like spectacular, but like they said like, oh, it's an arcade thing, but the buttons would be just like the worst buttons you've ever felt. But this thing has actually like decent, like you hear the click there, they look decent like actual like arcade buttons, and that's kind of impressive. And for the price that you get 8 arcade buttons and an arcade joystick, get to that in a second, that are like decent quality compared to like what you'd buy from a regular arcade stick, like that's kind of a good deal. And they are kind of stiff to press. They're not Sanwas. They are the American style, and they are a little bit stiffer to press, even like the arcade one-up buttons. But they're decent. And the joystick is decent too. And the joystick that's in there now is not the joystick that came with this. I'll talk about that in a bit. But this is the joystick that came with it, and it's got a nice click to it too. Again, not a Sanwa, but it's like it works. It's decent. So I thought like rescuing one of these things and making it into something that's usable today is not a bad idea. So that's what I did. So when you open this thing up, by default, it has this as the PCB. Small thing. Power out there. And then the buttons and joystick would go to all these things. Well, actually, it wouldn't do that. That was a lie. This, which has been cut off, and you'll see why in a minute, would go in there, and all the buttons, joysticks, all the buttons and the joystick were wired up to this. This clicks into there, and trying to do this with only 2 hands is difficult. But anyway, took this thing out. This thing is pretty much useless now, but it is a memory of times gone by. And really, all I would have to do is wire all the buttons and the joystick back up to a regular modern fight board, whether that's the Raspberry Pi Pico like I usually do, or a Brook board if I had one, or like any of that. But what I did instead is now I'm getting the joystick, wired it to an Ultramark analog joystick. One, because I had one and I was looking for a reason to use it, but also an annoying fact of the Ultramark joystick is that it only has wiring. It has its own PCB. It's not just joystick. Like you plug it in and it's its own thing. But it only has enough pins for 8 buttons. And this thing has exactly 8 buttons. I mean, you might be thinking like 8 buttons on a Fire Stick, that's pretty standard, but you're not thinking about like the home button, the select button, the start button. So this really just has these. And yeah, I could drill into this and make more buttons for all that. And I could, but I was kind of like looking for an excuse to use this Ultramark joystick because I bought one and had a build plan for it yet. So that's what this is. The reason there's no top on it is because this is me. I had to be weird and make my own custom top, which is, here we go. Roll this boy on. That's a McDonald's McNugget. Look at how beautiful. He came from the most recent like weird collector's adult Happy Meal collaboration thing, the Kerwin Frost box. Here it is. Yeah, and this is him without his outfit, but I couldn't fit the bottom part of the outfit on anymore because that's where his like screw is for the joystick, but you can still put his hat on. There you go. Beautiful. But yeah, you could also just use the normal joystick top for this. Although the Ultramark does have a wider shaft, so you have to get a different size thread insert to make this work, which I bought for this to make him. All right. Anyway, this is a very simple project. I didn't do anything with the art yet. I might at some point paint it or something. I don't really have an idea for what I'm going to paint it as. This was actually what I was going to originally do with my Christmas fight stick, where it was going to be a Grinch themed because I had a Grinch Dorbs I was going to use. Then Christmas passed and I kind of lost the inspiration for that. And like I said, my Polaroid printer thing broke, and that's what I was going to use the art from. I was going to use pictures from the book. But anyway, I might do something else with this. But it does still work, so that's cool. Over here, this is a very simple build because it was already built. This is like done. I didn't even need to do the special joystick, but I did. I just have to take all these screws out. There were a lot of them. The one thing that was difficult is there were two on the bottom of this thing. Two of the screws were like security bits, so those were a bit tricky to get out. The ones on, I think it was the ones on each far side. I should have filmed while I was doing this, but whatever. So I had to use a flathead screwdriver and kind of really squeeze it in there to get that. As you're seeing here, this battery pack, this is useless now. The original PCB, you could either battery power it or plug it into the wall. But that battery pack right now is the only thing keeping this thing fully sealed, so I didn't take it out yet. Now, I will open it up and show you my wiring. It's nothing pretty, but there it is. Yep, so the Ultramark joystick has, it's like I said, it's its own PCB, and on the side of it you have 8 pins, which I have now soldered my wires to. Well, I soldered them to DuPont connectors, which I then plugged into it. So there's that. There's extra things that's dangling out here. That's for an LED on the top. Again, from the original PCB. I haven't figured out how to power that yet, or even really care about that. So I just kind of left it there. It's not taking up too much space. And then there's the wires for the batteries, which again, I'm not using, but I just left it there. I don't feel like taking it out yet. And then I have the USB channel through it, which fit perfectly, which was very nice. It goes back into here. So yeah, that is the inside. And let's show some gameplay with this thing. Squeeze it back in there. It is a bit of a tight fit because of just the orientation of the wires, but it worked out. And now I'm going to show you some gameplay of, because this is an analog joystick. I can play games with analog on it, and I'm going to show you some Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. And the reason I'm showing that instead of Smash Bros. Is because as far as I know, as far as I figured out, the Ultramark joystick is only compatible with PC. And I don't have Smash Bros. On my PC because it is a Switch game. But I've actually been playing Nickelodeon more than I've been playing Smash Bros. I actually really enjoy this game. Let's crank the volume up a little bit. Honestly, this game, like, don't dismiss it for the Nickelodeon-ness of it. This is actually a very fun game. And it's as good as some of the Smash Bros. Games are. Anyway, so I can play this. I can play any analog game that, assuming it only needs 8 buttons or less. But yep. So I'm Jenny over there. It's hard to play over my camera like this as usual, but it's working right now. Because again, only 8 buttons. One of these has to be the start button. So this is the start button, not an action button. That's okay. This button is the slime button, so you're not going to see me using that right now. I've got my punch, well, a light punch, heavy charge attack, a special move button, and my jump. And I got my grab and my shield. So I'm not going to show you like a real match, but just to show you that this thing works. Not crazy practical. I mean, this might be the muscle memory talking, because I'm so used to playing like years and years of playing Smash style games with a regular gamepad, like GameCube controller. So I'm just not used to fight stick playing with this, although it would be fun to learn that style. But yeah, it works. Very easy project, pretty stress-free compared to some of the other ones I've made. If I do decide to paint this and make it look nicer, I'll update you. Only unique thing really here up, and that I replaced the analog stick, and that it came from an iPad thing is, of course, my chicken McNugget topper, which is surprisingly comfortable form factor for a joystick top. Don't knock it till you try it. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll have more videos in the future. I do have a few other projects I'm considering, but it's starting to get to be time of year where things get busy again for me. I feel like I say a lot, but it's true. So yeah, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.